In Diablo 4 news, Diablo 4 developers have published a couple of blog posts, detailing some information that has previously not been covered. Blizzard said that itemization has been the most discussed topic since the Diablo 4 reveal at BlizzCon. The developers stated another important philosophy across the whole game for our team is the concept easy to learn, difficult to master. This core philosophy helped many of us become the hardcore gamers we are today, and one we want to embrace throughout the Diablo 4 development process. In order to provide interesting choice with itemization, the developers stated that they were implementing the following changes. We're increasing the total number of affixes on items, including magic, blue, rare, yellow, and legendary, orange. This should raise the overall importance of non-legendary affixes on your character's overall level of power. We are also introducing 3 new stats: angelic power, which increases the duration of all beneficial effects, like self-buffs or healing. Demonic power, which increases the duration of all negative effects, like debuffs or damage over time. Ancestral power, which increases the chance of on-hit effects, aka increased PROC chance. The attack stat will now only be featured on weapons, the defense stat will be solely for armor, while jewelry items will have neither. As things stand, ancient legendaries will be removed from the game in their current form. There will be much more work done by Blizzard in regards to Diablo 4's endgame. The developers wrote that they are actively discussing ways to add more depth and complexity to base items, including rares, ways to add greater variety to item affixes to make those powers interesting and your choices meaningful, and ways to give players more freedom to choose how to customize items, so you can have fun exploring a wide range of effective gameplay possibilities instead of just looking up the optimal build online. With regard to skills being locked to specific slots, the developers wrote, "There's a misconception that Diablo 4 will lock skills to specific slots because of the BlizzCon demo user interface. Like many other things in the demo, the UI is not final and we will support elective mode style skill selection. Skill selection and assignment will always be completely open for all players." With regard to the endgame progression system, the developers wrote, "We haven't decided whether the character leveling and experience system should be finite or infinite. We've been discussing the pros and cons of both and would love to hear your thoughts. There seems to be some concern around infinite being worse because it will eventually overshadow all the power granted by other sources. However, we can control how much power each system gives, whether it's infinite or finite. We have a couple reasons for having a different experience system in addition to a level cap. A level cap gives us the ability to grant players a sense of completion. But for players who want to go deeper into the game, a second experience system allows us to capture the fun of achieving those really difficult endgame goals and ranks. We can also introduce additional depth through the system, because players will be more experienced with the game at this point." With regard to sources of power, they wrote, "The community has shared many good points on the topic of power sources and we're re-evaluating how much power comes from each source at any given time. However, we want to clarify that in Diablo 4, power doesn't come mostly from items. We want to have a good mix of power sources. Characters naturally get stronger as they level up, skills have ranks that increase power, talents provide specific playstyle choices and additional character power, and of course items grant power and meaningful choices as well. Something else to keep in mind is legendary powers are just one part of an item's power, and they won't invalidate all other affixes due to how powerful they are. For example, 2 to 3 normal affixes are currently equivalent in power to a legendary power on most items." With regard to keyed dungeons, the developers wrote, "A big question that's come up is exactly how keyed dungeons are different from rifts. Keyed dungeons introduce greater challenges as their tiers increase through dungeon affixes. The majority of dungeons are real places in the world, and players will know some information about them, including what types of monsters, events, and layouts to expect. With this information, as well as the specific dungeon affixes being displayed on the key, players will be able to strategize their approach before going into the dungeon. We believe this is the biggest change from Diablo 3's Rifts, the added planning and strategizing that takes place before you decide to run a keyed dungeon.